It's time for House to Home with your host, Clyde Haase, where you will hear from local people who turn their houses into homes all across the inland Northwest, and you'll learn how to do the same. House to Home is brought to you in part by River Ridge Hardware and Avista. Now, here's Clyde.
And welcome to another edition of House to Home, and joining me today is Larry Myers with River Ridge Hardware. Welcome aboard, Larry.
Thank you, yeah.
And how are you? And I'm going to bring this on as a holiday season because, as you can see in front of us, Larry brought some of the merchandise off the shelves and said, guess what? It is that time of the year.
It came fast.
I blinked and it was here.
Right.
And so now what do we do about it? Well, I have been sharing some of the ideas here before we opened up the show here today. And Larry and I were talking about it is the season, and we've always... In fact, I had to be honest with you, Larry, I just put up my tree last night.
Right? Good
yeah,
for you.
And here it is. It's actually beyond the 1st of December, but we are finding out that time flies by and it's time to address this. So, Larry, for those of us that may just get started decorating, which I'm just getting started, what are some of the things that you brought here today, and how would you like to share it with us?
Well, first, I kind of want to just talk about Christmas trees in general.
Oh, okay.
And if you're grabbing a Christmas tree, make sure it's fairly fresh cut. The ones I go and pick out, I actually go to the farm, pick them up. They would have cut them in the last few days, and we bring them there. But when you're getting it, shake it out, get some of the, take it home, cut out an inch off the bottom. Make sure right after you
fresh cut.
Yeah, you need to cut that stem out. Make sure you get it in water right away. Don't let it sit for a couple hours. Get it in water right away. Get it soaking. It'll eat up at least a couple gallons of water right away. Right. And the reason I brought these different lights is that really different light bulbs can actually dry out your tree. If you use some of the old ones like this, which, by the way, we still sell, we have people that still like these old, cool light bulbs. Right. These will dry out a tree a little faster than the new LEDs that don't hardly put out any heat at all. And so, not only do they take less power, but they don't dry that tree out. I also brought this just because you may have a set of lights that you just love, and for some reason you can't find that bulb that's out.
I have to tell you, Larry, I may have to buy that from you before you leave.
Right.
I've got a few of those, folks, just like maybe you do.
Well, we have one of those trees that every year we put it up and 12 lights are out. And thank goodness, my wife has become a specialist in this. And I say that's a good thing because it's one less thing I have to do. But she's a specialist in this, and she can find the bulb, get it fixed. She's actually found wires. We fixed those. So this is actually paid for itself.
This is very interesting what Larry has brought here, because I have to tell you, folks, I'm being very open and honest. We've had this one tree that we've had for 8 or 10 years, and I have done everything except putting more lights on it this year. Years before I have, Larry, and my wife is never satisfied. So guess what happened to it? So I got a new one now, Larry.
Right, there you go.
And I plugged it in, and it worked. What a fantastic innovation. And I actually enjoyed it last night a little bit. But with an items like this that you can find the light bulbs and identify it, I think that is real important. You started with a comment of cutting back the tips of the butt end of the tree. And as you indicated, that is so important. Right. So important. The tree needs to take the nourishment in. That is a nice green tree. And as he indicated, it'll actually absorb 2 gallons of water up to that a day. Yeah. Easily a 6 to 8 to 10 footer. Right. Easily. So you almost have to maintain it like the dog's dish. You got to maintain the water. Exactly. And that's real important, because if you let it dry out, it will never start over again. It's done, right?
Yeah, you got to just
it's
pull
one
it up
time.
And cut it off again and let it do it.
Right. Well, I want to go back in time, and this is going to show how old I am. I used to be involved heavily with the old Krause Nursery. For the people that are listening here, that's been a long time ago, right? But we used to sell live Christmas trees, which is a spruce tree that maybe some of the listeners' mom and dad or grandpa planted. Well, we used to get a Christmas tree for Christmas, a live one, put it in a pot, bring it in, decorate it, and then take it back on out and
Right.
plant it. Now that's using the tree over. That's what you call recycling, right?
I did that on our first,
Really?
our house that we're at now. When we first bought it, I wanted to do something that would kind of mark the time.
Right, yeah.
And so I bought spruce, and we brought it in the house. And of course, they recommend don't have it in more than a couple weeks
Maximum.
Yeah, and then we decorated, and then we went and planted it in the spring. But,
Right.
Yeah.
It works very well. So if you do want to recycle the trees and
Yeah.
plant a tree in the springtime, you can get a live one and plant it. But you also have to keep them watered.
Yep. Yep.
Very, very important. And make sure they're wet when they're brought in. So it's going to take a cart to bring them in.
Right, and I have a few. I always bring in every year a few
Or
live
smaller
ones.
ones.
Yeah, I have a few live ones, small ones
Yeah,
that
great idea.
people can decorate and in and out, and then plant it that year and kind of mark their time.
Well, one other thing that for those of you that may even think about flocking a Christmas tree,
Right.
flocking does not resolve the water evaporating off of it.
No.
It's the same, so you need to keep it wet, need to
Yep.
keep it moisture. Again, these trees are not going to, they're naturally growing in a 50-degree temperature outside to 60, but then inside it's 70, they just dehydrate immediately. So
Right.
that's on the trees. That I like. Okay, in regards to the lights, and Larry was correct on the LEDs, it's the only way to go. Only way to go with that. And following that up, the tracer, and what does this actually sell for then, Larry?
I think it's 20 something.
Boy,
and
that's
I have
first-
one for the these types of bulbs, and then one, and this will trace these, and then I have one for the LEDs. So they make a separate tracer for the LEDs
Okay.
too. So
I like it.
Uh-huh.
So again, go to Larry's hardware store, River Ridge Hardware, over on what location?
corner of Driscoll and Garland, 2803 West Garland, or riverridgehardware.com.
Okay. And I want to tell you, folks, he goes by the old philosophy, neighbors helping neighbors. That's what it's all about, and Larry's going to give you that information. Let's just talk about one other thing that a lot of people, again, some of this information we've hashed. Between us, Larry, you and I have got over 100 years about Christmas trees, so we're going to share our knowledge with you. But the point being is that you need to go ahead and when you're plugging in the tree, understand how many lights you have on it. Again, LEDs are the only way to go anymore because they don't take the power.
Don't take the power, don't throw out a bunch of heat. Yeah.
Right. So it's the way to go.
Uh-huh.
So an extension cord, but again, use a heavy one. Don't use a light one, right?
Right, and I use the surge protector, and then off that surge protector, either have a timer. Get a heavy-duty timer. They make some heavy-duty outdoor ones. We sell probably 4 or 5 different timers out there, so then you don't have to worry about it. They're going on and off when you want them. But make sure you get a heavy-duty one of those too.
Well, the other thing is that when you're setting your Christmas tree up this year, don't set it over a heat register.
Right?
Stay away from the fireplace, right?
Or TVs, monitors, computers, anything that's throwing out heat.
So any of this, again, I guess what I'm trying to tell you is, folks, use a little bit of common sense when you're placing the Christmas tree.
Sure.
And identify where it's going to be, because it needs to be in an area that has relatively cool spot.
Yeah, I used to put mine over a register, and I would just cover the register,
Now
insulate
you're talking.
it, and cover. I'd shut it, cover it, make sure that nothing was coming out, and then put the tree over by that, and just know that you're not going to get any heat out of that area.
But also accessible when all the gifts get stacked up around it, so you can still get to it and water it. I'm
Right.
back to this watering now.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, Larry.
Yeah.
On the fresh cut trees. And one of the things that I wanted to also touch on that there's pine trees, there's spruce trees, there's fir trees that can be used. All of them, basically, if they're a fresh cut tree, guess what? They're all going to come about the same. They're going to hold their needles, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So when you bring it home, shake it out.
Right.
Get rid of as you were telling us the story,
Yeah.
the pine needles.
I had one last year that, they were new homeowners, and it was wrapped up all nice and tight for them so they could
Right.
take it home, and they just unwrapped it all in their house, and it dispersed a bunch of the needles. We carry noble firs. I have noble firs all at one price at $39.99, but the fact is that they're going to throw their needles out.
Right.
And so you want to actually do all that outside, cut that inch off outside, then bring it inside. And
Shake
you're
it
gonna
down.
Shake it down. Get most of those needles out of
And
them.
I would sure recommend that you put the tree stand on outside, because sometimes it has some persuasions that have to be done.
Sure. Yeah.
which means adjusting it with.
Cutting the down so it'll fit in there. Sometimes
Larry's been there. Yeah.
Those they come too big and you can't
Yep.
fit it inside, so you have to do some shaving.
And the heavier the tree, the bigger the stand you need. So
Exactly.
again, every stand is not going to be the same shoe for everybody. It all has to be adjusted according to your, and there's some great stands out there that'll work out that particular point.
Yeah.
And so with that in mind, I think we've talked enough about the trees. Let's talk about outdoor lightings and be talking about that. I've seen people go around with a staple gun and staple up their light fixtures. And I'm talking about the cords going around the eave.
Right.
What are you laughing for, Larry?
Well, because most of the time they're going to staple the cord
Okay.
itself. And
Oh,
then-
you're trying to tell me
yeah.
it doesn't always work, right?
Right. Exactly.
That's what we're trying to say. So when you're putting up outdoor lights, buy the fixtures and then take the lights off of them and leave the fixtures up for next year, right?
Exactly. Well, and we sell the hangers that can hang on your gutters, the ones that slide underneath your roof that will fit in.
Right.
And if you want to get fun, we have the kind that have the suction cups or 3M that will go on the windows where you can line lights out around your windows. So we have a multitude of different options available.
Right, but it doesn't mean that we can't take them off and rearrange it. Am I correct?
No, they're there. In fact, I just take mine off with the lights themselves, and then I put them on because half the time I got to readjust things, and
You never do it the same.
No,
Every
no.
year it's different at that particular point.
Exactly.
Well, those are the things that we want to talk about here a little bit because, again, I've gotten to the point in my age where I don't want to be redoing everything over again.
Right.
And Larry, I see you're getting to that point too. You
Yeah,
know,
thanks.
Understand how you do it, but don't use a stapler to staple a wire to the side of the house or to the window.
Right.
I mean, don't do that.
Right, or don't come from both ends and then have to cut the wire, and so you're plugging two things that shouldn't be plugged in together. Do it right. Do it right the first time.
Yeah. Understand, lay it out, pre-plan is what we're trying to say. So when
Exactly.
you're decorating, understand or lay out what the perimeter is around the wreath if you're going to do that. If you have a gate
Yep.
that you want to have a wreath on with lights on it, understand how much wire it's going to take, how much wiring you're going to have, and again, use cords. If it's outside, use cords that are really made for outdoor use, right? Larry?
Exactly. Oh yeah. Right now we have them on sale, and you're running. If you're running a long way, 100 feet, run a 12 or maybe a number 14, but don't run a number 16. That distance with depending on the draw you're doing. Or the other thing I've seen, and you know, everybody's probably done it, where you hook too many of these lights together, they're already running a lot of power, and I can get one more section on there, and then you end up blowing the fuse. Well, you're blowing the fuse because you're doing too much of a
Too much
draw
drainage. Yeah.
on it. So
Well, Larry, let's take a break here coming up here at this point, and we're going to talk about a few things during the break, and we'll come back to you. Another points and ideas of how to deal with the season. Clyde Haase, and along with Larry. Thank you, Larry.
Thank you. Hi, this is Larry at River Ridge Hardware. Just wanted the opportunity to show you a little bit about our Christmas. We have Christmas tree stands. We have ornaments that you won't find anywhere else. We have the small Christmas lights. We have the tube lights that you can run up and down. We also have a massive amount of snow shovels. Come on out and visit River Ridge Hardware.
Welcome back to House to Home. I'm here again with Larry Myers with River Ridge, and you've seen during the break here, we were looking out at all the lights, and he and I were just talking about that. So, Larry, you carry all forms of interior decorating, exterior decorating if you have a need, and again, you're always there with a lot of good information. As I said, neighbor helping neighbor, right?
Yep,
at that
exactly,
particular point. A couple of things that I wanted to also touch about is that poinsettias. Again, as a landscape architect, I'm involved in the flower. I've been around that business for a long time. Poinsettias, yes, they can be poisonous to any animal. I'm not going to sit here and tell you yes or no. Don't allow the cats and the dogs to chew on the plant material, including the Christmas tree.
Right, yeah, especially in you know, kids.
This time of the year.
Kids on Christmas trees. If you have kids or
Right.
animals, make sure you secure it well, whether you got to cable it to the ceiling.
If you
Yeah,
gotta,
yeah.
That's not a bad idea,
Yeah,
you know. You
yeah.
could put a little
Right.
fishing wire and it wouldn't even show, right? That
Right,
way it's not going to
exactly.
fall over.
Exactly.
I was thinking back the other day because one of our trees was leaning, and I said, you know, I can think back when originally, way back when, we used to have candles on the tree. I mean,
yeah,
thinking about
yeah.
things of how times have changed,
Yeah.
but we need to be looking at security of systems and
Yeah.
so forth, following
Yeah.
that through. Larry, let's move on with a little bit more things, and let's talk about the few days after Christmas. And you've got a little item there that we talked about, shaking the tree out outside before
Right.
you bring it inside. You're
Well,
going to eliminate some other problems.
Yeah, now it's January 1. Your tree's dried out well. You're deciding you're going to get rid of it. We sell a bag that they actually make that goes over the top of the Christmas tree, and it comes right over the top. You seal it on both ends. Pull the tree out without making a big mess. I don't know how many of you, I'm included, I've gotten in so much trouble by just grabbing the tree, running it through the house, and leaving half the tree in the house. This eliminates that and keeps us guys out of trouble.
Well, and you and I need help, okay? Because Larry is kind of like I am. We do take charge when it's time to take something down. Oh, I just knew you just needed it done now. Yeah, we forgot to think all the way through. So that's
Right.
a great idea of what we need to be looking at so that we can understand how we need to go ahead and take care of it at
Yeah.
that particular point. So that's a great one. The other thing is that I wanted to be talking about is that wreaths can be mounted on the doors, right?
Yeah.
Without nailing them on.
Right. We have wreath hangers. They're great. Sit on it, and then you might have to wire the wreath a little bit. It hangs right on that hanger.
Okay, so again, things have changed. You can use some brackets to fasten them and to hold them on place.
Yeah, 3M makes a great product that actually can stick.
Do they
on
actually
the
work?
outside. Yes.
Outside, too?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. And then they'll have a hook and everything. Yep.
Oh, and they'll hold up to what,
Yeah.
5-10 pounds?
Oh, gosh. We have some 3M stuff that will hold up to over 100 pounds.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I
Yeah,
wasn't even
yeah,
aware of that.
yeah.
So again, instead of the hammer and nail, folks, grab some of these items that you can actually stick on, and so you're not destroying things. Because where I'm leading you, Larry, is that we hadn't quite talked about this, but I'm going to talk about the season that we're in right now. After the holidays and the tree is gone and we've taken care of that, your hardware store is able to satisfy the needs of maybe patching a spot on the wall, patching a door that's swaying open too hard and too fast.
Yeah.
You are open to helping people find those solutions. Am I correct, Larry?
Always. All my guys are full of knowledge and able to help somebody through that project of fixing the hole that the tree went through. Yes.
Well, the other thing is that in some of the cases, as you were saying, with some of the lights that you hook up, if you begin to start blowing circuits, I'm really concerned about that.
Right.
Because you've got to be aware of, because it could be telling you a story before a real serious problem happens.
Right.
And we need to be looking at some of these repairs. So again, I know my first comment is that if you're going to start doing electrical, you better know what you're doing, and if you don't, and if you second guess yourself, hire somebody who knows what they're going to be doing. Am I correct?
Exactly. Hire an electrician, or we have some handymen that we highly recommend that know what they're doing and are able
That will
to
do small stuff
Yep.
that would fit into,
Exactly.
and I think that's real important, folks, because I work in the construction business of some of the buildings, and boy, I'll tell you, to find good contractors is hard. So here again, going to River Ridge Hardware, you're going to find some good leads of people that you can actually call to resolve. So next year when you plug all these lights in,
It works.
it works properly, and I think that's real important. If we're looking at a case of coming up here as the winding down of the holiday season, we want to repaint the bedrooms and so forth. Do you handle paint and all?
We handle all different types of paint, yep, and we can match anything. Our brand is a top-end brand. The Do It Best brand is actually made by a vendor that basically owns the world, but it's made specially for Do It Best. It's very high quality, and we can match any color. In fact, I have some stuff I'll have to bring sometime that we can actually point it on the wall, and we can actually match a color for you, and we lend that out. So
Really?
yeah.
Well,
So.
I think that is real important, because I find that after the holiday season, and I can tell you how the grandkids are growing
Sure.
by the fingerprints up along the wall.
Right.
And so that is the point that now we need to start maybe filling back in. And so if you want to match something, what do you do, Larry? We don't need a chip anymore, do we?
If you have a chip, we can do that. We can do it with a chip. I actually have a reader that hooks to a smartphone, and you can
Really?
actually take it home and point it at the wall, and we can actually take it right from that. So
So to match, I mean, I have cans of paint downstairs
Right.
I think, am I alone? No, I think I'm with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And what are they for? I don't know. I
Right.
don't know what they're for. Well, anymore now, we can actually go around, we can match some of these things
Yeah.
up, and with that,
Right.
that finder, by going to your place, we can get this. What do? You is it an app or what?
It is, but it's a reader. It actually is made. It's kind of like an eye, and it'll
Okay.
actually put it on the item, and it'll take that color, and it'll give you the best option for that match.
So I'm looking around the studio here, and I see a few spots on the walls.
Right.
We could actually match this up pretty good.
Exactly.
So maybe we should just tell Kent about that.
Right. Exactly.
We
Yeah.
need to have him get on the ball with that. So you can match paint chips and be able, as you get into the months of January, February, that you start working towards that point, you'll find that you can actually develop and succeed in doing some matching up and repairs, and the paint is being taken care of. A couple other things that I wanted to touch on, Larry, and I've worked with Avista quite a bit and been so engrossed in this idea of energy saving, the renewable, which is energy.
Yeah.
And how you understand that and how you develop. And I'm a great believer of the hot water tank. You folks deal with the hot water heater, the gauges that go in there, the heating elements and so
The
forth.
elements,
You can help
we
us
actually,
out?
we take it, again, as neighbors helping neighbors, where we'll even do a tool loan out so they can actually unscrew the
Really?
element themselves, pull it out. It's very easy. If it's above you, again, we have some handyman that can help you there. Changing out your elements. I just did this a week ago. My wife was in the shower and she didn't have any hot water. That didn't last very long.
No, that didn't last very long around your house, did it?
No. So I had to change out the two elements that literally took me 15 minutes to do. So.
Right. What I'm trying to bring this up, Larry, is that some of these things we as homeowners have a responsibility to ourselves.
Sure.
Yes, it's always great to pick up the phone and call somebody to come in and do it. But it's like anything else, it costs money.
Exactly.
So you were there as a hardware store and actually a place of knowledge.
Yeah.
That people can come and see you and say, I've got a situation, and the hot water tank is not putting out the hot water, or my wife ran out of the hot water, and that's real important. So that'll not happen again. So you can begin to, and so what kind of information, for example, what we'd have to say is that what kind of hot water tank is it? Is it the upper tank, or the upper heater, or the lower one? We need to understand. So come ready with a picture of the tank and some information
yeah.
about it.
And a lot of times we can just we lend you the tool, we take a deposit, lend you the tool, get that element out of it.
Oh, there you
Bring
go.
the element into us. We can match it up. We have pretty much every element that it handles pretty much the majority of all the hot water heaters today.
Well, and the other item that again, because people forget about the hot water tank, and it's one of the biggest ones. But the other item that I wanted to touch about, Larry, is that is door stops around the doors.
Right.
Drafts this time of the year.
Or if you're in an older house in my neighborhood where there's single pane, they don't have, we can actually, I work with a company that we can actually build storm windows for you, that they custom storm windows. But at worst, we sell the film that you heat up with a dryer and
it
it
works.
comes tight. Yeah, works great.
And I have to be honest with you, folks, it's very reasonable to put it up, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, you'd save easy, and you'd save in 1 year the minimal costs that in heat alone.
Well, and one of the other things that I wanted to point out is that, folks, when you're going around your home, you're finding some drafts and you're finding situations to save some money during this time of the year when it is cool outside and you want to halfway stay warm inside. You can go around and you can adjust your heat registers. There's deflectors that you can put around the register that'll force the air out into your living areas.
Yep.
That's real important. And if one thing that I'm really strong on, folks, if you have to put a portable heater out for auxiliary heat or for the heat to sit there, be aware of it. Don't hook it up to extension cords.
No.
You've got to be directly into the plug-in. Understand, it's not cheap to run these heaters. Am I correct?
Right. Exactly.
This is your
And-
experience and mine
no,
too.
Yeah, and if you're blowing your breaker quite a
Oh
bit.
my gosh.
If you blow your breaker, one, you either have too much pull, but breakers are one of those things. The more it breaks, the more it wears down, and at some point you may have to just replace that breaker. But you're doing too much of a draw for that breaker.
Right. folks, you need to understand your home. You have to understand how it breathes. The home does breathe. It can be even airtight too far. Well, all of these things can be taken care of, and the lighting here today, and Larry, you've helped us on that. This is an old subject, and like I said, between the two of us, we have 100 years of experience to tell you about. But the lighting, I appreciate that, Larry. The trees, the money that you're spending to maintain your home and to keep your home is so important. And if they want to get hold of you, Larry, what phone number can we do?
Oh, you can always call us at 509-328-0915. You can go to our website, riverridgehardware.com, or just come down and visit. We always are happy to talk at 2803 West Garland, right on the corner of Driscoll and Garland. And we're always happy to be there for you, answering any of your questions.
Well, you know, I want to say I live in the Valley, and I made a special point to come out and see you more than once because I needed some help.
Yeah.
I mean, I need a lot of help, but I needed some real special help. And this is a real great hardware store to get that one-on-one. And Larry, I want to tell you that it's well worth it. And I'm going to push you ahead because we're going to be talking to springtime because spring is around the corner, right?
Right. Are we looking for those flowers to start blooming?
See, he's already we've already gone beyond the season now. Well, we're into the season of springtime. Well, Larry, you've always been a great help. All the tips. Again, water that live tree. Understand where you're setting the tree. Other thoughts is that don't staple the outdoor lights up. Use heavy extension cords outside. Just be safe because we enjoy having you with us as we like to come to see you. And as we do that, Larry, until next time, thank you.
Enjoy the holidays.
Happy holidays. Until next time, Clyde Haase, House to Home. We'll see you then.
Thanks for watching House to Home, which is produced in Spokane, Washington by SpokaneTalksMedia.com, which is solely responsible for their content. House to Home is sponsored by River Ridge Hardware and Avista. Ask Clyde a question, recommend a guest, or hear this program again on our Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Apple Podcast, Spotify, or Spokane Talks